Hi, everyone. Okay, so I'm really excited. Thank you for everyone who came to join. And thank you, Ray, for your organization who is putting this events together and allowing this platform. We are starting with the first half an hour every week on Tuesday, 6 o'clock Pacific time, which is 9 o'clock Eastern time, with Embrace Femininity. And a half an hour later, we are opening the lines also to the greater public as well for a Reaching New Heights series, focusing on emotional resilience. My name again, Miriam Yerushalmi, and I will be here weekly and looking forward to the journey together. It's a very sensitive topic when we talk about femininity. On the one hand, you know, we as women, we take pride in our sensitivity, in our femininity, in our feeling compassion and all the wonderful traits that God gifted us with absolute honor and with joy. Sometimes though, when the people around us are kind of not matched our wave, it's really like we can feel that the other is from Mars. I know there was a famous book, Men from Mars, Women from Venus. It teaches us men are from Bina, are from Chachma. As God really created men and women differently, attributes, even though we're both from the human race. And getting to know that aspect of femininity from a Torah perspective really helps us, not only as the title, helps us embrace our femininity. We can embrace the other because we understand the differences, we honor our qualities. At the same time, we can less look down at the other that doesn't have those kind of qualities like we feel they should. In Chassidus, actually, we're taught that each soul is the other half of each other, and that to be really whole is when we can accept, tolerate the differences, and with that love in handling the differences with respect, we in essence are able to have the merger of being able to download with what they've been extra gifted we're, and we're able to then fuse and that we each become more whole, each gain others gifts at the base of like the chaotic differences that leads to chaos a bit, as the Lubavitcher Rebbe would teach us, that the whole mission, peace into the home, and a mitzvah, that means there has to be a lack of the peace in the home in order to fulfill the mission of bringing peace to the home. So many people go into relationships, and in the beginning, there seems to be no differences. There seems to be a feeling like, oh my gosh, there's no other. This is my soulmate. This is what I've been missing. And it's smooth for many. It's exciting. There might be like infatuation besides the attraction. There might be um, very common like feelings and also commonalities. But then after the marriage, especially after the 7 days of marriage, uh, differences start to appear. Things weirdly are apparent that was not apparent before. And a person begins to wonder, like, how did this happen? Like, why didn't I see this before? And it's like shocking for some, and shocking for many. So the Torah teaches us that this is a purposeful design to kind of almost enlighten us in the beginning of the relationship of how we are soulmates, and almost magically have this like sensation win over us, feel this is the one. But then after the marriage, it somehow dissolves um, somewhat. And the challenges and the difficulties of the differences between man and woman then become apparent. So when we understand the Torah's perspective that this was meant to be, because we've been gifted in the relationship with like the extra higher powers of our soul, to be able to sense that this is our soulmate. And believe it or not, after marriage, God takes it away. Yes. That extra higher dimension or soul, this attracted, that made us see that this is someone to spend the rest with, is there as a gift so that we deal and seal the deal and have the strength to seal the deal. But after marriage, especially after the 7 days of the celebration, this extra transcendent part of our soul, which is the chaya of our soul that we were gifted with, that helps us see the good in the other. It's a type of spiritual wisdom. But after the marriage, he takes it away. And then we're literally interacting with our lower soul. And our lower soul doesn't have access to this kind of higher wisdom that helps us see the good in the other and tolerate the differences. So it's just very normal that the challenges will be there. So how do we get this back? In essence, how do we do the things that gave us such a easy freedom, like to be able to experience that love and experience that, you call it infatuation, whatever it is and was, that ignited the relationship to begin with. We all then want it back, because who doesn't want to have, a life full of ease and pleasantness and delight and love? People are born to love. They're born to love God. They're born to love God's children. They're born to love their soulmate, their own children. So the question is, how do we get this transcendent part of our soul back into the picture and then enable ourselves to be as connected as we were before? So, when God created the world, he actually removed himself so that we could exist. And our neshama has to kind of create anew every day a emptying out of the ego so that godliness and our spiritual powers can return back to us, because we need to create space for this godliness to reside with us. We got it for free during our engagement and during marriage and during our dating, this extra spiritual energy of our higher power of our soul. But now, to get it back, we got to create space. We got to remove our judgments, our low tolerance, our ego, our past traumas, our entities within us that take up space. You know, if you're going to bring new furniture in, you got to get some of the new furniture out so that there's space in your home, right? So anger, sadness, anxiety, intolerance, lack of compassion, judgment, and all the negative character traits that we're here to fix in this world, the more we work on that refinement, then the more the special qualities of our soul not only bursts more freely out in the open to be experienced by ourselves, but by the other. And then there's room in our heart, because we got rid of the anger, the sadness, or the disappointments, all this ego-based, emotional, negative character traits. Once we work on removing this, then the higher transcendent part of our soul has a chance to come back. And it's kind of like a type of wisdom that's like a flashlight that helps us see the real unbelievable qualities of the other. And that's why when in the last parshas, when we were running away from Egypt and Yosef bones ended up having to come to the water's edge to then split the sea. I don't know if you know that story. Yes, Nachshon jumped, and there's a teaching that his having faith and jumping into the sea caused the sea to split. But there's another deep teaching that only till Yosef bones came to the front of the waters did the sea split. Now, some say because Yosef split away from the temptation that he had with the beautiful Potiphar's wife that tried to seduce him to be together. And true, he became known as the tzaddik more than anyone because he had such a temptation and he held back and didn't give into it. So but there was something also deeper of this message that we learn in marriage and relationships, all relationships, that the idea of this water splitting only when the bones came, because in essence bones in Hebrew is etzem, atzamot in plural, which is bones. But etzem actually also means the etzem of the neshama, the essence of the soul. So when the waters were waiting for the Jewish people to arrive at the water, this was already planned from the days of creation. God said, okay, you're going to, at this time period, the Jewish people are going to be running away from slavery, and they're going to reach your waters, and you're going to have to split. And when the Jewish people came to the water's edge, the waters did not recognize the Jewish people. And so what happened? They didn't split. So Yosef's bones were brought to the water's edge because everyone else had reached the level of 49th level of Tumah. They were such a low degraded level of impurity that the waters didn't recognize them. So the message was, even though Yosef is in this coffin and you can't see him, so too are these people kind of buried with tuma, buried with impurity. But inside is the purity of Yosef, like the Jewish people. They're covered, and you're not seeing the essence of their soul. And so the message for time immemorial is like, two egos get married, and two egos will see the outer tumadik, impure, angry, maybe anxious, maybe cold-hearted, maybe not available, and the list goes on of what one of the spouses, can be on the outside, but really deep within this person is a chelek elokai mamish, a chelek, a portion, mamash, literally, of godliness. And we have to train our eyes to go beyond what we're actually physically seeing, so that our eyes can be like, those, I don't know, those superheroes where those eyes can see like X-ray, like to see really what's beneath, buried. And that's the quality of the part of our neshama called chaya, that helps us see deeply the good that's possibly buried. That's why when Yosef went to, when Yaakov went to go get the blessing from his father, Yitzchak, and put on the skin of Esau, and Rivka knew he had to go with the skin and get this blessing, because she wanted for time immemorial for people to have this lesson. On the outside, it feels like an Esau. This is like not the person that I used to know. It's like Esau-like. But the call, the voice, remember, the neshama that's buried inside of Yaakov, the essence of the Jewish neshama, the essence of the soul spark on all levels, whether it's Jewish, not Jewish, seven Nophthite, the 70 nations out there, like there's a spark of holiness very deep within. And that's why around the corner when Pesach comes and we learn, that you're supposed to blunt the teeth of the wicked one, that's not a Jewish concept to do that to someone wicked. The deeper message is they're biting words you need to blunt. They're sharp words. Realize that they're hurting, they're in pain, they're buried, they're not spiritually aligned with their soul. And it's the woman's femininity that has been gifted this extra type of knowledge. It's called Binah, that helps her do the types of tikkun hamidot that allows her to be able to draw down this type of wisdom, that allows her to be patient with the development of the seed of her man. Because just like she has the merit to develop her man's seed in her womb, and it takes time, so too she has the wherewithal to develop the seed of her man's potential. And just like the womb of a woman expands and expands to make room for an entity opposite of her, even she could have a male baby and even, literally put herself at risk. Well, now they have all kinds of genetic testings, but back in the days, like my mother-in-law, when they didn't have this, she had lost many babies. So, like, literally, but also spiritually speaking, our brain has to expand and expand and expand and make room and tolerate an opposite entity that is so different. And that's what happened from time immemorial. From even before Adam and Chava came into the picture. Chesed, the type of feminine energy, could not get along with Gevura, a very warlike, strong energy. They just couldn't congeal. They couldn't get along. And they bumped into heads with each other, shattered each other to pieces. And yeah, we're trying to accomplish what the higher worlds, when the world was beginning to be created. And then Adam and Chava went through the same challenge. Adam was going through his own psychic internal warship, feeling like a nobody, and Hashem says, I'll create a helpmate for you. But then he ignored her. He didn't speak to her so much so she didn't know really the law of the tree. She felt jaded that he's closing the door, not paying attention to her. She's susceptible to like the snake that's paying attention to her. And yeah, the rest is history. She gives in to the temptation of this fruit and falls prey to the temptations of using the material world to help breathe through her pain of rejection. So we have to undo that. We, the women who have been gifted with the extra wisdom called Binah, and we'll go more into this Binah. This Binah is really the ability to actualize knowledge. It speeds up the intellectual process to be able to live and bring to fruition, just like she brings to fruition children in the world. She has an easier time bringing to fruition the midos change because of that extra wisdom she's been gifted with, and not because of anything but the birthright that she as a woman has been gifted with. And it's part of her mission. That's why we, the women, light candles. Why? We're the ones that do it because we have, the Lubavitch Rebbe says, because we have the power to bring out the light in the other. And for some women, it's like, no, we're both adults. We have to do the same amount of work. I'm not doing more work. It's not about more work, less work. It's about A plus B equals C, and you want to make it work. So who teaches us how to make it work? The Torah. And yes, there are 70 opinions out there in the Torah, and God made it that there's opposite even opinions. And it's not just a one path. But in my 40 years of almost marriage, and 40 years almost being a counselor, like 38 and a half, whatever it is, who's counting? But I've seen it again and again and again, where a little effort by the woman's part of developing just the strength to just fix herself and make room by doing the tikkun midot and fixing her character traits. that this extra wisdom of her neshama comes and gives her the strength to see more the good in the other. And trach good sein good, as they say. You think good, it will be good. So the positive regard and the tolerance and the thinking positively about the other, because now you understand more why they're so different and why, it's difficult to get along like you used to, then helps the person not as easily get triggered by the other and not as hurt by the other, and have a greater strength and awareness to handle it. And when that happens, then you're not as easily throwing gasoline on a burning fire. And talking about fire, the passion and the fire that was once there starts to be put out by harsh words and an intolerant look and a rolling your eyes like, oh my gosh, again, like energy. And there's just so much out there that we all go through in relationships that we're like, whoa, is this all worth it? Well, if God planned it that way, you better believe it, because we're half a soul and we need the other half's positive energies, even if we can't see the positive energies. They're there and we need them. A woman has what's called her fire, Esh. Her fire is Emunah Shlema. She has a type of wisdom that is called Emunah, faith, Shlema, like a complete faith. That's she really has a greater wisdom to be able to live life with that. And a man's fire, and he has a fire, Esh, Aleph, or Sichli. The word Sichli is an intellectual light that's different than the woman's. And so he's more like the rational, usually the calculated, he's the one that can have the strength to go out to war, and she's the more feminine, to nurture and to take care of the baby. Yeah, in Hebrew it's called Yotzei Dofen. There are couples that actually the woman's more like a man and the man's like more like feminine. Yes, true. But on average, this is the gift God gave a woman to be able to give a baby so she can nurture the baby and to have that, compassion and beautiful feelings toward her child the way, she's been gifted. So we need their amazing qualities, and they need our amazing qualities. And there's a teaching in the Gemara that how the two fires can merge so that each one gets each other's qualities. There's the concept of needing the fire of the Shekhinah in our home. Because they say, like, when there's peace in the home, the Shekhinah rests in the home. And when the Shekhinah, which is the feminine, godly energy that activates blessings in our life. So if there's warring, anger, butting heads, disrespect, the Shekhinah is repelled. And then there's a lot of fire, not only between the couple, the children, I don't know, the parnasah, the money, the economy of the home can go down with no peace. There's just a lot of challenges when we don't have the spiritual blessings of the Shekhinah in our home. So another name the Gemara teaches us for Shekhinah is Esh Ochelet Esh, which is Esh is a fire. Ochelet eats up the unholy fire. So what does that mean? When the Shekhinah comes, it eats up the other's negative character traits. So we don't have to keep pointing fingers. We don't have to keep criticizing. We don't have to keep thinking that we are their, If it's not for us and we're not going to point it out, it's also for our children. That oh my gosh, we could step back, let go, and let God, because God's energy actually mystically eats up the negativity of the other. Once we step back and have and bring more peace and more respect and slow down the process of wanting instant fixes and instant gratification, that we're telling them what they did wrong, and constantly thinking that's going to help. I always say the 3 rules to criticism is 1, don't do it, 2, don't do it, and 3, don't do it. It just doesn't work. And the 3 reasons is it doesn't work, and it doesn't work, and it doesn't work. The Shekhinah works. I was just sitting somewhere, and a woman was telling me she's been coming to my weekly classes elsewhere, and we had a few sessions, maybe 2, not even 3, maybe. I don't even think 3. She goes, oh my gosh, everything you were telling me, everything that's written in your marriage book about this mystical dimension of how things get swallowed up by the Shekhinah, I'm seeing it. It's crazy. I don't know how my husband is changing radically. And let me tell you that I can't go into so details, but he was a mess. And I've seen it again and again. So when the fire, this holy fire of the godliness that's residing now more in our home, it also melds the 2 together, like 2 candles. There's a fire there, they're going to be 1 candle. Melt away, togetherness. And so what is his that is good becomes mine. And what he's lacking that he really needs from me becomes more his. And then he becomes more like me in that sense of what's missing. He'll always be he, and I always will be me. But the lack becomes less and less of a lack, and the wholesomeness becomes more of the wholesomeness. Okay, so I hope to keep you inspired. You're definitely welcome to listen to a lot of my classes on my YouTube channel. My website is yournewheights.org. I have several marriage books and the marriage workbook. And it's hopefully going to bring a little taste to your, in Hebrew, ta'am is taste, but it's also ta'am, a reason. It's like, hopefully, a taste. I'm kind of playing on words, but so you'll have even more reason to be curious about what the Torah teaches us about marriage. And I really hope. And as we actually are understanding that first and number 1 ingredient, like when I talk about love and relationships, is you need to have emotional resilience. Without working through your emotional triggers and understanding why it's so easy to be triggered. Yeah, we have past traumas that play into all the things that we've been wanting and expecting for ourselves, like what we didn't get as a child, or but there's been many people who had really perfect childhood, and yet they get married, and sometimes it triggers them that that their husband is not like their dad that was so really wonderful, because there are some wonderful men out there. So that makes it more difficult for them. So that could be a trigger, even though you had an amazing father figure, right? But bottom line, we all have ego. We have all, by the Torah's command, to let go of our Yetzer demands on us. But the Torah also teaches us that our brain can be more in control of what's natural to us. Because my whole life I've been really saying this so that people understand it's very normal to be triggered. Very. Our emotional part of our brain, the limbic part, works 3 to 4 times faster than our rational mind. So no wonder we're triggered. It's it's inborn. It's in our systems. But God teaches us that, and science also just teaches us that with work, the part of our brain that's the rational part can develop a speed 3 to 4 times faster than our emotional part of our brain. So yes, by default, we're emotional beings, but by Torah and science, we're learning that we can increase our mental wherewithal so that we're not, as triggered, as fast, as easily, and erratically. That we can have what's called emotional resilience because something will happen and normally it will trigger us, but we'll try our best to know. And this is the class that we're going to be focusing on this second half of the program, is that we can not lose hope. We can have more of the tools that we need so that we can see that we can not only be resilient after something triggering happened to us, but like I would say a Hasidic emotional resilience is to like be even stronger because of it, be a better person because of it, to like grow through it. That the dark experience is actually a stepping stone so that we become a better and better person, rather than it let us bury us, shock us, ruminate. And the more we ruminate and keep obsessing over these negative thoughts, then, negative thoughts will create negative emotions. And for people who have a very high fiery temperament, as chapter 1 of Tanya teaches us, will be the more anxious type of person because they're having such anxious thoughts, such fiery, anxious thoughts, or angry thoughts, and then anger. And someone who has a more earthy personality, they're the more depressed type. They're born with more earth. And so they'll be more prone to sad thoughts like, I can't cope with this. It's too much. It's unbearable. And cry. And the emotion starts eating themselves up. And then the water element type of personality, and the difficult relationship and something shocking and like so heartbreaking, they can't cope, so they turn to addictions to help them escape. And then the air element personality, they don't shut up, they fight back, and they have what I call diarrhea of the mouth, and they spew out negativity and put more fire in the, gets explosive from the gasoline that's shooting out of their mouth, where they should be like keeping quiet to let, until things calm down. So we're taught that these 4 elements, fire, water, air, and earth, that seemingly are such destructive forces that you just want to like, oh my gosh, get rid of them. It's actually not something that we want to get rid of. These 4 elements, and some have 1 or 2 or 4 dominant of this character traits. This is from Rambam, but chapter 1 of Tanya discusses it, that is actually our greatest asset. So someone who's very fiery, they're an angry temperament or an anxious temperament, well, they've been gifted like Yitzhak Avinu with a lot of fire, with a lot of gvura, with a lot of strength to have fear of God, like Yitzchak did, on wonderment. Gratefulness. Wow, blown away. Like Yitzchak was different than his father Avraham. Avraham was gifted with a water element. He was gifted with love of God and love of charity and love of, kindness and love. So instead of the loving to escape by loving the pleasure of food or alcohol or whatever kind of addiction, the person can channel it and be like Avram Avinu and be the greatest, savior of his generation or her generation. Do kindness that'll change the world for the better, and experience love of delights of what's the real pleasure in life, godliness. And someone who has an earthy personality that seems to be depressed is the creative mind, the one that's grounded, that can really develop self-mastery more than anyone in this way. Because it takes groundedness to slow down and think before you act and think before you speak. And the air element, why, of course, they can be the greatest speakers. Okay, so they're using it for battle. I remember once at a bris milah, and the rabbi of Kolel Tzemach Tzedek, Rabbi Deutsch, said that if you notice people are fighting, then they're not fighting their Yetzer Hara. So they have to fight with each other. So the air element that should be used to fight the Yetzer Hara in prayer, and fight the Yetzer Hara by using it to study Torah, if they're not using it in a holy way, it becomes a destructive force and used to fight and argue with others. So all four of them can be our worst inner avenger, the worst trait of our being, but it could be channeled and developed all in prayer. And that's the foundation of our day, is prayer. We're going to use the earth to slow our words down and to think and meditate. We're going to use our fire to feel wonderment of God's greatness. We're going to use our love of Hashem, oh my gosh, in prayer, that he takes care of me. And I'm so thankful. I love him for all the blessings he gives me. And the areas, I'm going to actually say it all. So all four are used in prayer. And then outside of prayer, the Yetzer Hara can't use it as easily in a destructive and unholy way. So I want to say that a lot of people just keep their baggage of yesterday, but in their relationships, of not just oh, they did something, oh my gosh, my spouse 10 years ago, and they really carry a lot of what they did or didn't do, and really not healthy. But even past traumas, and the parsha when Avram is told Lech Lecha, and leave all behind, leave the house of your father, leave the house of your land, and leave your birthplace, was a secret message for not just Avram, how he's going to co-leader of the new generation warrior. It was for all of us, that to empower us, that we can leave behind our house of our father. If we didn't get nurtured and we didn't get the love, doesn't mean we can't love. Oh, he's just from his childhood, he never got love, so I lose hope that my man will ever be able to love me. He never was, no. I mean, look at the father that Avram had. Oh my gosh, wicked, didn't care gave him to be killed by the king, practically. His idol was more important than his own child. How about his birthplace? That's the DNA of your soul. You might have been born with a lot of fiery, angry temperament. Nobody was angry in your house. It's not like you learned it from your family. And there's the land. The land is larutz, is the same words, eretz. And that's the land, but it's also running toward habits to escape your own inner imperfections and your own challenged traumas, or even the environment of society and what's tempting out there these days. You can leave all that behind and go to the real you. The real you is indestructible, untouchable, neshama, the etzem, that no matter how like society and everything around you has like seemingly buried you, you can free and escape and leave all that behind. You don't have to believe all the psychobabble that's out there. You're not damn goods. You are capable of not only not breaking from it, but actually becoming the real you and using all that as a stepping stone to reach new heights. Because, but for those experiences, many letters of the Rebbe, like, but for those experiences, you wouldn't have been able to tap into resources of your soul. That you do that. That means you need to develop these like soul muscle powers that wouldn't have been developed but for those experiences of your past, of what you did or didn't get. Everything is designed perfectly to develop the, and with that kind of mindset, that's a big step to emotional resilience. I would like to do a little meditation, which we'll try to do every end of the hour course. After the meditation, we can have a few minutes for question and answers and feedback, and I will shut, so we will allow the privacy of others. So if you're on Facebook, next time join the link so you can be part of it. And so, because a lot of good comes from the question and answers sometimes, all the time. But anyway, so let's close our eyes. Just want to, while you're closing your eyes and you're taking that deep breath, knowing that new oxygen is coming into your body, helping your body relax, because a relaxed body means a relaxed mind. And then a relaxed mind is more able to access its greatest strength, both from scientific and from Jewish deep soul powers in our mind. There's deep intellectual soul powers that we access with calmness, with serenity, with deliberateness, solitude. And of solitude helps access the ability to create. As science teaches, new neural pathways and to become more and more emotionally resilient, and of course to reach new heights. Because is we don't want to be enslaved by those energies and then change our mood to the negative. So if you want of yourself going to a place that's going to be more relaxed. I'm just looking at this place. There's, oh my, beautiful, the waters, even the stones there, just everything about it is so peaceful, inviting. But go to a place where you feel wonderful, that you enjoy being at. And every step closer to this place, you feel more and more relaxed, and you feel wonderful that you have a chance to have this time for yourself and to rejuvenate and recalibrate. And in this place, there's a big, big gate. And as you're about to enter, there's this big sign that you're reading: no negativity allowed. So as you enter, you just feel like, stress, tension, cortisol, everything's just like dropping. just letting go whatever isn't positive. Oh my gosh, time to do the pace off cleaning. And you're you're actually there, and it feels so right and so good and so beautiful. You just in the moment, and the peace and the tranquility and all the, even the temperature, the breeze, everything's perfect, just like you like it. And there you feel happy, and there you see yourself at your best self, and celebrating you, like the you that you know you are. And you know, the you maybe you once used to be, maybe as a child you remember, or maybe the you've never been. Who knows? Like everyone's different, of, you know, along the journeys of losing oneself a bit or a lot. So here's the vision. You're happy, you're calm, you feel at peace, but you're also vibrant and full of your soul. And you have this freedom to unleash the real you. Lech lecha. You're able to go to the real you here. Leave everything behind. Bye bye. Didn't come in with me. It's totally free now. And now you can actually have a vision of yourself seeing the people in your life, maybe the one difficult person or whoever, like approaching you, and you're not letting their unnerving personality unnerve you. You're actually like strong right now to be be emotionally resilient and give your best self, your empathy, your hearing heart, your hearing ears, the heart that's now listening and can hear better, passion, and no judgment, no triggers. And it's just you, the soulful you. And they're ignited by your light. They're softening from your presence. The Shekhinah is actually doing its mystical work. Their negativity is melting away from your fire that brought the holy fire into the equation and into the presence of this home. And beautiful, just awesome. This vision is like miraculous. You see yourself. Wow. The you always knew you can be, and even more. So, it just feels so right. And you can just say a little prayer. Oh, please, God, please, Hashem, let this vision just become more and more a reality. Let like my presence, my light, my love, my feelings of compassion, my everything, please help this come to reality. And when you're ready, you start to feel your body as you feel that God really heard your prayers. He's helping you. He's going to help you As you feel your legs, you feel the strength to really face and walk toward a better way of being. You feel your heart calmly beat, but with now courage and strength. You feel your smile growing. Beautiful smile. Just wow. As you have more hope and you open to be the best and better you. Okay, so open your eyes. And those of you on Facebook, feel free to leave messages here before I actually say goodbye. And for you here in the Zoom link, we will stop recording and have some time to interact. Yay! So any questions that the Facebook Live audience would like to ask? And if it's, we'll get to them after the broadcast, if it's now. Bye. Okay, so those of you here, would love to, as I press the record button, unless you want to have some good feedback and don't mind being recorded, and the personal stuff we can not record. I wish I can see you all these days, but I guess I need to unmute everyone maybe. I still have to learn this program. But if anyone wants to text me, I see a hi. Settings.